everyone! Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Ria, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a review and some comparison swatches on the Dose of Colors Sassy Siennas palette. This is what the palette looks like. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on this palette and see comparison swatches, then please continue to watch. Okay, so I do have a video on the Blushing Berries palette. It went up before this one, and as a result of that palette, I decided to purchase the Sassy Siennas one from Dose of Colors. I really enjoyed that palette, so if you haven't checked out that video, please go ahead and do so. I will link it in the description box down below. I do live in Canada, so I did get charged a duties and taxes charge of $15, so the palette in total, including the cost of the palette, shipping, and the actual duties charge, came to around $65, which is pretty expensive if you ask me. I didn't expect the $15 duty charge, so I will be ordering from Ulta's website in the future. I don't think I will be purchasing off of Dose's website anymore, because at least on Ulta's website you can see the breakdown of how much the palette's going to cost when you purchase it. So just something to keep in mind. This palette is a beautiful shiny coppery color, and just like the Blushing Berries one, it has the name of the palette on the front. Sorry about all the fingerprints. The box looks like this. It's cardboard and has all the names with the colors on the back. And when you open it up, this palette also comes with a dual-ended brush. I don't really like it. I won't get into it in this video, but I'm not a big fan of this brush. Although it is pretty good quality, I'm not a big fan of it. So the palette looks like this, and it has these beautiful orangey colors and then some sienna colors on this side. I really like this palette. It is the palette I have in my eyes today, of course. I really like it. I would say that I'm a lot more inspired by the Blushing Berries palette, which is back there, over this one, because this one, although the colors are right up my alley, for some reason I wasn't as inspired to use this palette as I was with the Blushing Berries. And I have created about 3 looks with this palette, and I would say that I had a little bit of trouble thinking of looks to create with this palette. And there's not a lot of tutorials. Like, I looked up tutorials on this palette to come up with something really creative and beautiful, but I don't know, I'm just not as inspired by this palette. Sorry, I'm just not as inspired by this palette as I was the Blushing Berries one. The colors are beautiful, they're very blendable, super soft. When you dip your brush into it, it does kick up a lot of product. Very similar to the Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And these colors are honestly so gorgeous. I'm sure you guys have some variation of these colors in your collection already. I definitely did. And I will be doing comparison swatches coming up. But overall, I do really like the palette. I don't like it as much as I like the Blushing Berries one, but it's beautiful. It's like a nice occasion palette. I wouldn't say it's an everyday palette, because I wouldn't really wear a look like this on an everyday basis. I do work in an office, so for me something like this wouldn't be something I would go for on a regular basis. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you swatches of the palette compared to other things that I have in my collection already. So I'm going to start with the first shade in the palette, which is this one over here, and this one is called Oh So Sassy. And the dupe that I found of it is, so that's the color Oh So Sassy. The dupe that I found of it is from ColourPop, and the color is called Wait For It. So this is what it looks like. And I'm gonna swatch it right beside Oh So Sassy. Now the pigmentation on the Wait For It color is not as good as the Dose of Colors one, so I'm gonna build it up a little bit just so you can see. And the undertone is slightly off. The Dose of Colors one on the bottom there is a lot more orange, and then this one is a little more peachy. But once you get it on the eyes, it looks pretty much the same, very comparable, but I could not find anything else in my collection that matched this color exactly. So just something to keep in mind. In fact, the second color in the palette, which is this really peachy shade here, which is called Bossy, I was not able to find an exact dupe for it. I did think that this color here is very similar, the ColourPop one, but when you swatch it, which I will right beside it, you'll see that it's quite different. So this down here is also Sassy. This one in the middle is the ColourPop color in Wait For It. And the top shade up here is the color Bossy from the Dose of Colors little palette. So this one has a lot more coral in it, where this one has a lot more orange, and then this one's peachy. So I was not able to find, which I thought was really weird, because like these colors, when you look at them, you're like, oh, I definitely have these somewhere. But I thought it was kind of weird that I wasn't able to find good dupes for them in my collection. And trust me, like I swatched all of my palettes. I even went to the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and I wasn't able to find any dupes. So definitely, if you're interested in this palette and you like the tones, it might actually be a pretty good purchase, because like I said, the colors just weren't there for me. The color I'm gonna swatch is the color Foxy, which is the shade right here. And for this one, I found a dupe in the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and it's the color Summer Yum, which is, whoops, this color right here. And honestly, that was the closest dupe I was able to find for it. I'm not really able to find any other color that's close, but you can see like they're pretty much the same shade. So again, the bottom shade here is the color Foxy from Dose of Colors, and then the top shade is Summer Yum from the Sweet Peach palette by Too Faced. Next, I'm gonna swatch the color Brassy, which is this brownie shade here. It's like a reddish brown. And this one reminded me a lot of Cocoa Bear, but it's actually not very close to Cocoa Bear, to be honest. So this is the color Brassy. And for Brassy, I found two dupes. One is the color Brown Script from MAC. Looks like that. It's a little bit lighter, but I think it's just that the Dose of Colors ones are so pigmented that it doesn't really show up as vibrant as the other swatches that I found, or as the other dupes that I found. So this is the color Morocco from Anastasia, and again, Morocco and Brown Script are very similar, but the Dose of Colors one is just a hair darker, but once you get it on the eyes, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. So this is the color Morocco from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This one in the middle is the shade Brassy, and the top shade there is Brown Script from MAC. Brown Script has a very similar feel to the Dose of Colors one because it's very creamy and velvety. The last color is the color Stay Sassy from Dose, and it is this one on the end. This one is really, really pigmented. I thought the color was going to be a little bit deeper, but it's deep enough for using like on the outer edge of the eye just to deepen it up. That's the color I have on the edge there. So this is the color Stay Sassy. And the dupe that I found of it is the color Fudge from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And it's pretty much an exact dupe. Like you can see right there, they're like exactly the same. So this is the one called Stay Sassy, and the top one is Fudge from Anastasia. Alright, so my final thoughts on this eyeshadow palette are I like it. I don't love it. I don't think it's an everyday palette, but it is very pigmented, very buttery. The colors blend beautifully. I do find myself reaching for this palette, but I find myself reaching for this palette to mix in with other palettes because I really like these first. Actually, I like all the shades, but particularly I'd like jump to like these colors here, which are colors that are quite common in other palettes. So although I really like the palette and I think it's worth the money because of the blendability, the quality, the just the simplicity of the palette, I think that if you have similar colors in your palette, I really would not recommend this one. Again, if you're a beginner, be very careful. Make sure you tap off the brush really, really well because you don't want to pick up too much pigment and then have a difficult time blending. Not that these are difficult to blend, but you can pick up a lot of product if you are very heavy-handed. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section down below, and if you have any video ideas for me, please also leave that in the comment section down below. I really like interacting with you guys, and I hope to catch you in my next one. Bye!